It was the year of 2004, the month of July, the city, Boston, Massachusetts. A young freshman senator by the name of Barack Hussein Obama stood before the Democratic National Convention, and he addressed that august body. On that night, he stood with class and precision. He spoke to the Democratic National Convention. He began to speak of his humble beginnings. He went further to explore, and he talked about his ancestry from Africa and Kansas. He even talked about the influence that his grandparents had on his life. On that night, the world knew little about Barack Obama, but on that night, he captured the hearts of his audience and Americans. He spoke to the heart of Americans, and he stood there and captivated the audience. He spoke with hope and optimism about what America could be. On that night, when he stood with class, with intellect, with precision, the journalists tagged him as a presidential hopeful. Though many of us, we knew little about Barack Obama, the journalists knew that there was indeed something special about him. Remarks his citizenship being questioned, and he had to even endure his grandmother leaving these shores for the shores of eternity. Yes, there was greatness on his life, but he still had to go through a painful road to make it to Pennsylvania Avenue. That's God's word for somebody here today. Child of God, there is greatness inside of all of us. I believe I say that again. There's greatness inside of all of us. It does not matter what side of town you live on. It does not matter what your educational attainment may be. There is greatness inside of all of us. And greatness is this. Greatness is ensuring we maximize all of the potential that God has deposited on the inside of us. Greatness is inside of you. Greatness that lies before us is the painful path and the perplexing personalities we have to deal with. There is no doubt that we are fearfully and wonderfully made, and when God has created us, he placed inside of us his image. But the fact of the matter is, oftentimes the pathway to greatness is painful and perplexing, and it's not always what God is doing, but sometimes we have to endure what other people try to do to us. The text introduces us to Jacob/Israel's son Joseph. Joseph's name means, may the Lord add to me. Joseph was his father's pride and joy. He was the son, church, of his old age with his favorite wife, Rachel. Joseph, at the time of our text here, he's 17 years old. He's a young man. He has sparks of adventure in his eyes. Joseph is from a family that is riddled with issues that stem before his birth. He encountered his own set of life-altering issues. Here we have Joseph. There is something special about him. He's poised to do something that the other boys are not necessarily poised to do. Joseph had a father who loved him, a garment that separated him, and a dream that caused his brothers to despise him and his father to question him. The life of Joseph is a life that we can learn from. Joseph's life is a real theological drama. In the words of Arthur Pink, as God would have it, Joseph's life is a microcosm of what the nation of Israel would experience. The nation of Israel had a life of ups and downs, and it's a life that we can identify. There are times where we are on top of the world, and then there are other times that the world is on top of us. If you've never experienced that, keep going to bed at night, getting up in the morning. There can be times that the wind is at your back and it feels like you have the Midas touch and everything that you touch turns to gold. But then there are other days where it feels like that you've eaten ashes for breakfast and Murphy's Law is in effect, that everything that could go wrong does go wrong. Have you ever been there?